When Laura smiled that morning, the sunlight caught the edge of her hair and made her look almost angelic. "It's so much easier living with you now," she said, pouring coffee into my mug. I smiled back, but something about her tone didn't sound like affection. It sounded like relief. That was the moment, though I didn't know it yet, that marked the end of us. For months, I'd been trying to make our marriage easier. I'd gone to therapy alone when she refused. I'd adjusted my schedule, cooked dinner twice a week, stopped arguing about the little things. I thought maybe peace would come if I stopped fighting for perfection. But peace, I realized later, can feel eerily similar to indifference. Laura had become distant, not in the loud, obvious way where fights break plates and words sting, but in a quiet withdrawal. She'd laugh at texts I never saw, keep her phone upside down on the counter, and hum while scrolling through something that clearly wasn't work. I told myself I was paranoid. After all, we were healing, right? Then came the new perfume. It wasn't the one I'd bought her for Christmas. It was sharper, something floral but foreign. When I mentioned it, she said her friend Emily had recommended it. Except Emily had been in Denver for 6 months. That same week, she started working late again. "Closing reports," she said. I used to visit her at the office sometimes, bringing coffee or takeout. Lately, she insisted I shouldn't. "The place is a mess," she said. I pretended to agree, but I began to notice the small gaps, the ones people don't create by accident. A double wash of laundry on a Wednesday night. Lip gloss in her purse that wasn't her shade. New music on her playlists, the kind someone else had clearly introduced her to. Still, I tried to stay patient. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe it was nothing. I was tired of being the man who doubted his own wife. Until one Friday when the truth knocked, literally. A courier dropped off a small package addressed to her, with no sender's name. She wasn't home, so I opened it, thinking it might be something work-related. Inside was a sleek silver bracelet, the kind I could never afford, with a tiny card that read, "You make every night easier to survive." My stomach dropped. The handwriting wasn't mine. That night, when she came home, I didn't mention it. Instead, I asked how her day had gone. "Busy," she said, taking off her heels and sighing dramatically. I studied her face, the faint smile of someone who believes they're still in control of the story. Over dinner, she told me she might have to travel for a conference in Chicago. 3 days, she said, eyes darting to her phone. I asked if I could come. She laughed like it was a joke. "You'd be bored out of your mind," she said. Later, when she showered, I went to the laundry basket and checked her jeans pocket. There was a receipt from a restaurant 2 towns over. 2 entrees, 1 bottle of wine, 1 dessert. The date was last Thursday. The signature wasn't hers. That night, I barely slept. The ceiling fan kept spinning, mocking my stillness. I replayed her words. "It's so much easier living with you now." Easier because I'd stopped questioning her? Because I'd stopped noticing? I realized she wasn't complimenting me. She was confessing subtly, without guilt, that my silence had made her double life simpler. The next morning, I made coffee like usual. She kissed my cheek, said she loved me, and left for work. I watched her car fade from the driveway, then picked up my phone. It was time to stop pretending I didn't already know. I called her office. "Laura took a personal day," her assistant said. "She mentioned she'd be out until Monday." That was the confirmation I needed. I didn't call her again. I didn't text. Instead, I drove. The restaurant from the receipt wasn't far, 40 minutes north, near a quiet lakeside road. I parked across the street, ordered black coffee, and waited. I didn't know what I expected to find. Maybe proof, maybe peace. What I found was both. At 6:12 p.m., Laura's silver sedan pulled into the lot. She stepped out, looking lighter than I'd seen her in months. She wasn't dressed for work. A man came out to meet her. A tall guy in a navy jacket, confident smile, the kind of presence that fills a room before he even speaks. She touched his arm. He leaned in and kissed her like he'd done it 100 times before. I didn't take pictures. I didn't storm in. I just watched, detached, as if observing someone else's story unfold. For the first time, I saw her happiness without me. And instead of anger, I felt an odd clarity. She'd been gone long before that day. I'd just been living with her shadow. I drove home slowly, every mile peeling away something I didn't realize I'd been carrying. When she came home later, her hair smelled faintly of that new perfume again. She smiled, kissed me softly, and said, "You're up late." "I couldn't sleep," I replied. And I meant it. Not from pain, just from realization. The next morning, I made breakfast as usual. Eggs, toast, orange juice. She laughed at something on her phone, then looked up and said, "You've really changed, you know? It's so much easier living with you now." I smiled. "I'm glad, Laura. Really glad." Inside, I already knew what I was going to do. While she showered, I packed. Just the essentials: documents, clothes, the watch my father gave me. I placed my wedding ring on the kitchen counter beside her coffee mug. It gleamed under the morning light, still warm from where I'd worn it every day for 7 years. I didn't write a note. There was nothing left to explain. She'd made her life easier, and now I was about to do the same. I left quietly, locking the door behind me. The air outside was crisp, the kind that wakes you up in ways coffee never can. I drove until the familiar streets disappeared in the rearview mirror and the sky opened wide over the highway. For the first time in years, the silence in the car didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. By evening, I checked into a small coastal motel 2 towns over. The owner handed me the key without asking questions. As I dropped my bag on the bed, my phone buzzed. 8 missed calls, 5 messages. "Laura, where are you?" "Laura, this isn't funny, Mark." "Laura, if you needed space, you could have said something." "Laura, please call me." "Laura, come home." I stared at the screen, not with bitterness, but with a strange calm. Home wasn't the place I left. It was the version of me that had stayed too long trying to fix what was already gone. Over the next few days, her messages changed tone. First panic, then anger, then silence. By the time the silence arrived, I'd already found work nearby, helping with renovations at a small marina. The days were simple, the nights quiet. No secrets, no rehearsed smiles. Weeks passed before I finally got the divorce papers. She'd written a short note at the end. "I wish you'd talk to me before you left." I smiled faintly. Talking had never been the problem. Listening had. That night, I walked down to the water, letting the cold air sting my face. Somewhere behind me, a past life was unraveling quietly. I thought about the morning she said it. "It's so much easier living with you now." She was right. It had become easier for her, because I'd already stopped being there. Now, it was easier for me too, because she'd never see me again.